Hello everybody, this is ManuS and welcome to another Eternal Contenders video series. So this is the first deck tech since the release of the new campaign Dead Reckoning. So time to brew with the new cards and show you my first successful brewing attempt and deck building attempt basically. But before we dive right in, a quick thing in my own interest. If you want to support me, please consider turning off your ad block and whitelisting YouTube or my channel, so you can support me by watching the ads. And of course, check down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, to not miss any content in the future by turning on the notifications. So thanks for that, and now on to the deck tech. Alright, so let's dive right in. What we have here is a Combrei Aggro deck. I have built this on the first night and tuned it on stream. For anyone that wants to see the process or just more content of the game, there is a stream highlight of the whole thing, 20 games. I went 14-6 and built from like beginning of building this version to tweaking it to where it now is. So yeah, the deck basically is built around two new cards, Jaril, Amaran, Ghostblade, and Inquisitor's Blade. Two pretty nice and helpful cards for this kind of strategy. Some of you might wonder why play weapons when one of the big new cards that has been released is Horu Pacifier. But the thing is, first of all, the card is answerable, you have Enforcer, also they might just not draw it before you use your weapons. And also there's not that many pacifiers around in my experience so far. I haven't seen a ton of the card. So, okay, let's talk about the deck. The deck plays 32 units for Initiative Descents to help it get off the ground a bit quicker, because it can be a bit clunky. It's very 3 and 4 cost heavy, so having Initiate helps a bit there. We have 12 2-drops. Student, kind of a no-brainer, one of the best 2-drops in the game. Crownwatch Paladin, pretty good with weapons, and both as a user for weapons and also since Warcry on weapons or any card really is nice, and the Aegis makes it a durable threat to wield all the staves and hammers and blades that we are packing. Also happens to trigger Unseen Commando, so it turns into a 3-2 with Commando. Then we have the new Jaril, Amaran, Ghostblade. A 2-3 is not flashy, but it's decent. First of all, it attacks into a bunch of units that the 2 health unit couldn't, while also stalling most of the 1 and 2 drops in the game, or at least trading with them. And later in the game, the ultimate, paying 5 to double the stats of a unit wielding a weapon, provides us with some much needed punch on a flyer or an overwhelm unit to get out of a board stall, for example. Then we have Siraf. This initially was Auric Record Keeper, but the Entomb of the Record Keeper not really come up much, plus the fact that it's a 4-4 over a 3-4 also didn't seem to matter too much. But Siraf has the upside of having Overwhelm, which together with Stand Together turns into 2 battle skills that trigger Commando. Overwhelm with weapons comes in quite handy, especially with Ghostblade. I had a game where I just activated 2 Ghostblades on a Siraf with, I think, a Vodakhan staff or a Hammer of Might on it, and she just became so big that she punched through the entire time mid-range board the opponent had. And yeah, the Overwhelm is definitely very helpful there, and sometimes you just get to these games where you actually get to activate her ability, and I had at least one game where that happened, and I just activated her ability a couple times and that won me the game. So all in all, the card has just proven more helpful and strong than Auric Record Keeper has been. Was just kind of underwhelmed by the card, so I went back to Siraf. Then we have Unseen Commando, not much explanation needed. Great buff to a lot of units, great standalone evasive threat, great weapon carrier, great in aggro mirrors, just an overall great card. Enforcer, another evasive threat that also helps with some problem solving, especially by silencing cards like Horu Pacifier, so another great card. And last but not least, we have Copperhall Elite over 4-drops like Sandstorm Titan, because Titan is much more of a mid-range and defensive unit, while the Overwhelm and Aegis on the Elite and the fact that it's Annihilate proof make for a great weapon carrier, make it much better against removal heavy and control decks in general, and also happens to trigger with Commando still turning it into a 5/5 Overwhelm Aegis, so it's only like 1 health behind the Titan at that point when you have a Commando. And then we have 10 weapons for Vodakhan staff, just because it's the cheapest and best like weapon to stat ratio, and we don't want to get too clunky. The Empower trigger on 8 comes up sometimes, but not that often. It's like kind of a rare bonus that you get, don't count on it. Then we have Hammer of Might and Inquisitor's Blade. I split these 3/3 because I didn't really want more 4-cost weapons, which is why I went with 4 staff. And yeah, I think they are like similarly good, like they're equally good in a way, but have different upsides. Like Hammer of Might gives you that 1-2 punch of providing stats to the unit you put it on and the next thing you draw, as well as providing health, which might also matter. While the Inquisitor's Blade is a much more fragile weapon, but providing evasion is pretty big, and the fact that it's a recurring weapon is a similar kind of advantage as the Warcry 3 from Hammer of Might. So they just have like different ups and downs, and so far I didn't like one clearly better than the other, so I went with a 3/3 split. And then we just have 4 Vanquish to deal with big blockers if the board gets too big for our weaponed up unit to punch through. You can kill their biggest unit and then usually you can attack again, and 3 stand together just to buff and protect our board from removal and especially sweepers. I decided to not run Finest Hour for now, partially because Finest Hour is kind of a bit low impact and situational, and if the deck works without, it's kind of better for it. And there's also like not much room. I rather have more weapons for my Aegis units and Jaril ultimate, basically. And also because the weapons all have like some kind of grind potential, giving the deck some more staying power. So I decided against Finest Hour. Not 100% sure it's correct, but so far I didn't miss it, and I like not having it because the card can be quite, yeah, awkward and useless at times. Power base, just 26 power plus 4 initiative descents. I went with 26 because we have a bunch of Empower. We have the Siraf at 8, we have the staff at 8, and we also have a lot of 3 and 4 drops, so the deck really needs to have 4 power by turn 4, even if your initiative descents dies. So 26 plus the help of Initiate has been a pretty nice number. Been pretty happy with this. And it still gives us like 14 turn 1 time for Initiate. It's not perfect, like perfect would probably be like 16, but the thing is the deck is heavier Justice with the double Justice 3 drops, that I wanted to make sure that I have like my 20 Justice to play these on curve. And so far I like that quite a lot. And yeah, the deck has been doing really well for me. I went 14 and 6 in the test session on stream. I haven't gotten around to playing it much more, but yeah, the deck really seemed to be strong and have potential and promise. It's probably not going to be the new tier 1 deck, but it is a good proactive deck that packs a lot of punch, shows off some of the new cards, and depending on what you face is yeah, gonna do pretty well against what people been doing. And yeah, Horu Pacifier and Hailstorm both didn't really stop me from stomping people. So those are like the 2 big cards that a lot of people are concerned with trying and scared of, and the deck seems to be playing into both, but even on the first night, when that's what most people are going to be trying, because it's the obvious things to try and easy to try, basically require much less imagination than some of the more like tricky cards, and still the deck just kept performing and beating people, so don't be too scared. Alright, that's it for the deck tech. Combrei Aggro with Dead Reckoning for you. Hope you guys like the deck and enjoyed the deck tech. As usual, gonna hop into a bunch of games, show it in action. Currently in the top 15. Got there with this deck and a couple of other decks that I tried that you may or may not have seen on my stream and may or may not see in a future deck tech. Alright, that's it for the deck tech. Stay tuned for game 1 coming up next.